So what is European blockchain services infrastructure? I would like to highlight two main ideas. The first one is that EBSI means infrastructure but also services. And the second is that it's being built iteratively. And this is where this pre-commercial procurement process about to be launched can definitely help in making it a better and more mature solution. Going back to the first aspect, EBSI is composed of nodes, which in this first version will be operated by all participants that are, as Pierre explained in the introduction, the members of the European Blockchain Partnership and the European Commission. These nodes will give access to cross-border digital public services, which are basically the initial set of 4 use cases that I will describe later. It's also important to highlight that EBSI architecture has been defined to be multi-protocol. So we have a degree of flexibility in adopting new protocols in case we need to. This means that EBSI is an infrastructure capable of supporting multiple blockchain protocols that provide access through each node to all of the implemented use cases. In this first iteration, we leverage on well-known protocols. Being more precise, EBSI nodes will initially provide access to 2 blockchains, one per mission, where we use Ethereum Enterprise, and we rely on the Ethereum Besu client for this, and also a private blockchain, which is based on Hyperledger Fabric. Next iterations should help to improve what we are about to deliver in this first version of EBSI, which will be tested during this year. And we expect to have the first version of EBSI production ready with the second iteration that will be by Q1 2021. As I said, there were 4 use cases selected to help in shaping the infrastructure layer of the first version of EBSI. To define the functional and technical requirements of these use cases, the Commission has worked together with the EBB members, organized in user groups, and the same methodology will be applied for the new set of use cases to be selected in 2020. The initial set of use cases are the following 4. We have a use case about notarization of documents for auditing purposes, whose main goal is to aid in, as I said, in auditing processes, and basically means creating a proof of existence of an electronic document and its associated metadata, so the auditors can in a later process check its integrity. There's also a transversal use case on identity, the ESIF, which means European Self-Sovereign Identity Framework, which aims to deliver a self-sovereign identity framework to enable citizens, covering both natural and legal persons, to be in full control of their identity data and use it to authenticate not only to services offered by EBSI, but also to existing legacy applications. The specificity of this use case is that we aim to incorporate by default the EU Trust Framework that the Identity and Trust Services Regulation, known as EIDAS, provides in the EU context. As a subset of the type of credentials supported by ESIF, we also have the diplomas use case. The particularity of the diplomas use case comes from the specific representation of a diploma information in the form of an ESIF verifier credential, and the need to define also a trusted issue list that will list the diploma's authoritative sources. This basically means which type of education credentials can be issued by each identified issuer. And finally, we have the trusted data sharing use case, which tries to solve the main business done by the Commission applications that should help to move away from a central database to a distributed registry. To illustrate a bit better what is our vision, the vision that we have on these use cases, it's probably better to watch the video that we already published in the CEF digital site. From an architecture point of view, we can see in this slide a high-level architectural representation of what I explained before about the services and the infrastructure that are part of EBSI. In this case, starting by the lower layer, we see that we have a network layer. As I explained, we support blockchain networks using internet, like the permission one based on Hyperledger Enterprise, on Ethereum Enterprise, but also private networks like the one that we are using for the trusted data sharing use case. There's an EBSI chain layer, and this represents the protocols, the blockchain protocols that we support as part of the infrastructure, but also the storage capabilities that are offered by default in EBSI. Then, on top of that, we have the EBSI external interfaces layer, which are the difference that it's a layer that basically is comprised of all the components that provide interfaces that allow to interconnect with the chain layer, the storage layer, etc., but that have external dependencies. Then we also have an EBSI core services layer, which is the main entry point to the EBSI nodes. This is the layer that basically provides all the APIs that can be consumed from an EBSI client, and that also allows the EBSI wallet to consume EBSI services. And then on top of that, we have the EBSI application layer, which is divided into a use case layer and a common applications layer. The main difference between the two is that basically we always start with the implementation of a use case, which typically translates into the deployment of a decentralized application. But when this work is done, it automatically becomes part of the common applications domain. So we offer a unified way of consuming those services via an agreed API. In terms of roadmap, we started in April 2019 with the selection of this first set of use cases. During Q2, we kicked off the project. We've been working during 2019 with the aim of delivering the first version of EBSI version 1.0, with the first implementation of the use cases that will happen by the end of March 2020. And we are in parallel also already preparing the selection of the use cases that will be part of EBSI V2. EBSI V2 is initially planned to be delivered by Q1 2021. And as I said, this is intended to be the first production-ready environment of EBSI.